FX Nation, what's up guys? Welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to another video. And in this video guys, what we're going to do is we had recently a session with our mentoring students. We do these every week. And every week we do some form of either analysis or back testing. And this week we just happened to do it on pound USD. And it was a really good session because we actually got to see and break down peak formation highs and lows, put it together with ADR and directional buys. Everything was it was a really good session, and it had a lot of really good nuggets throughout the entire session. So I just wanted to share that with you so you guys can get the same value that I think everybody else got from that same session. But here's the session, guys. I know it's long. Trust me, you want to watch the entire video. There's nuggets spread throughout the entire video. I cannot express that enough. So I hope it brings you value as much as it did to us while we were doing it. So without further ado, guys, let's get this started. Somebody pick a month.
Hello, Mark. You right, Mark? It's Nathan. You right?
Yeah, Nathan.
Could you, what about May?
May?
Yeah.
All right, so real quick, what did we end up getting on the previous 2 weeks as far as like cycles and stuff?
That trending both ways.
Yep. Trending both ways, right? One up,
Yeah.
and then the other one, one up and then one down, right?
Yep.
Is what we ended up getting there. Let me see how big these things are real quick. It's 392, 392 back up, 390 something back down. So I mean, it looks like you had one cycle, two cycle, three cycles back and forth. So this looks like I'm not sure about the ADR, but I mean, if it's close to 400 pips in one direction, that's very very likely to be like coming off of peak formation low. Now, because this was back in May, so I'm assuming that the ADRs was way higher back then, obviously, because you're in the middle of the
Pandemic.
Yeah, you're in the middle of the pandemic, so obviously it's going to be a lot higher. So it's going to be very interesting to see if this is peak formation low. Are we going to get more buys or not? I don't know, this TDI is already at close to the top here, so. I guess you got your answer there, huh?
Yep. I think it's going to test the low, I believe.
Well, that it definitely might do. But I mean, this was really, when you look at it, I mean, you can technically say this went down, went up, touched the bottom, it pinned to the middle. This is, I mean, essentially type 3. The problem is that there's no entry unless you freaking put up your like a freaking sell stop, or sell limit order, I should say, up here. But like, who the hell would know that? But yeah, you're right. I think this could be a run down here actually to
Yeah.
previous week's low. But I mean, having a move like this, you only get if you get a if you get a pullback early enough, then you can get a continuation trade. But if you don't, then I mean, during the U.S. session, you're only looking at one option, which is basically a reversal. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I mean, that would be like the only kind of real option that you would have here is a reversal. I mean, you're pretty far away from the 50, but you would definitely need to get a good entry though. Would anybody consider that a railroad track at all or no?
No, I wouldn't, me myself.
Yeah, there's your run to the 50 there. All right, that day was a wash. All right, so this is going to be interesting. What's interesting about this?
It possibly could be market maker.
Well, I mean, this is you're starting in Tuesday, right? So you need to see what Tuesday gives you, but you basically would need to have this be like a full day of rise, if that's going to be a market maker,
Yeah.
because right now you really don't know. You're trading off of the low of Sunday, Monday, you know,
Yeah.
so you're still kind of open to something. Now, the interesting part though is that if let's just say if this was a peak formation low here, this came back down. If this holds again, essentially this would make this basically like a failed reset. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So let's see what I end up getting here. What do you guys think?
Well, it's pinning on that middle of that Asia range, isn't it? At the
It
moment.
is, yeah. I mean, this could be a railroad track right here, man, because it is covering more than 50% of the candle.
Yeah.
But I mean, the question would be, where would you take it to if that's the case? And does it, taking it to let's say either the 200, the 800, does that give you a any kind of a good risk to reward ratio? This would be 18 pips to what 32. So I mean, it's like a 1.78 type of trade you would want. A retracement really is what you would want because then that would be way better. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah, I see that. Yep.
That would be a way better trade with a retracement. Up here is not as appealing because now you're close to 2 to 1, but you're not really close to 2 to 1. You'd have to really take it to the 800. You know, and if you're taking it to the 800, you're for sure saying that this is you know a confirmed what you call it, a failed reset
Failed
up
reset.
here. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So I think the important thing is, do you get a pullback on the next candle? Because if you do, then that would make sense. If you don't, I don't know if it would make a whole lot of sense to take that kind of trade. Okay, so you get some kind of a pullback, but is it enough?
Hey, Mark,
Yeah,
would you take that 13 EMA crossing the 50 right there, since we're assuming that's testing the peak formation low? Would you consider that at all as saying, hey, it's probably going to go up? Would that not even be in your thought process at all?
this up here.
Yeah. You said like you can tell if it's confirmation with the 13 crossing the 50 on the 1 hour. I mean, it's on the
Yeah,
15, but like if you went to the 1 hour and it was crossing on there.
Well, it's
Oh,
not
it's
even
not even
close yet,
close. Oh,
though.
not even close.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's not even close.
Gotcha. Never mind.
Yeah,
I
so
figured out
I
I
wouldn't
was
think
saying
about that
15
yet.
in 1 hour. Never mind.
Yeah, no. But I mean, this right here would be a good trade, though, because you got enough of a pullback here to get over a 2-to-1 risk reward ratio to just the 200. You know what I mean? So this would actually be a good trade here as a type 3 to just the 200. Anything after that, I mean, let's say if it just goes to the 800, that would be freaking extra. But just to get here is over a 2-to-1. So that would be a good trade setup there. And I mean, you're not asking for a lot. You're just asking really to go back up to the highs again. Let's see what happens here. See if this goes or not.
Mark, what will be your thoughts on the New York session?
Um, I mean, my thoughts on the New York session would be the way. I mean, just by the way it is now, you would only have, for me at least, would be an option of just a reversal. But I mean, that reversal would be like to the 50, maybe. You know what I mean?
Okay, yeah, small profit.
Um, unless the next two candles come straight down to the 50, then I'd start thinking of more of a continuation trade because we're just
Okay,
two
yeah,
candles into the box. You know what I'm saying?
yeah.
So we're still super early. So yeah, we're still super early on it. So if this were to give you, where's this thing at? If this were to give you um, two aggressive candles straight down to this, now a reversal wouldn't make sense. What would make more sense would be a continuation and go higher. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah,
But
yeah,
if you have candles, the next candles that are like that stay up here, then the more reality is that you would be looking for a reversal, not a continuation.
yeah.
You know? But I mean, you still need to have the setup though. I'm assuming that, this would have to be the high here. This, literally this line here would have to be the high. That would have to hold essentially. Anything higher than that just throws everything out of the water. Unless they're going up here to tag this and then come down. But I mean, that by the time that happened, you're probably looking at like what, 10 o'clock or something. You know.
Yeah, makes sense.
So I mean, it just really depends on what they do here in the next, three candles or so. Would give you a better idea. Yeah. See. So
Oh
you
yeah,
got
did
one,
break the
two,
high.
three. This basically is the apex here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then there's your reversal candle essentially. But obviously, it's way too freaking big. How big is that candle? Um, yeah, it's like fucking 30 pips. Yeah. So I mean, you need something. You need a major pullback to happen because of this candle. This can't be a trade that you're taking to the 50. You have to be taking it down. Something like that. You know what I mean? But
Yeah,
regardless, you would still need a pullback to make that trade possible. Without a pullback, I mean, it just doesn't make sense to put in, um, you know, a sell stop here or a market order here. What would make sense is if, let's just say, if you had a sell limit order up here, but I mean, at that point, you're taking a chance also at the same time because you don't have anything yet forming. You know what I mean?
yeah.
You're just assuming at that point that that's where that's the high of the day. So
Yeah.
without knowing that, I mean, it really just doesn't make sense. And this is really good though, because you have some divergence on the TDI here.
You see that trade, like we just showed, the type 1 M. Wouldn't the EMAs be against you, kind of thing, when you be thinking about that?
Would the EMAs be against you? I mean, you wouldn't be able to use them as take profits, obviously. Yeah.
They're too close.
Right. You wouldn't. Yeah. There's no way you would use a 50 as a take profit point. You know what I'm saying? When you don't have them in your favor like this, right? When they're, like you said, against you, then you're literally going off of 20 pips, or you're going off of the basically the structure of the middle, the bottom of the range, and then you have your yesterday's low, which is here, and then last week's low. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah,
Those would be
makes sense.
like
Yeah.
your structures of where you would basically want price to go to. You know?
Yeah, it makes sense. Cheers.
Yeah. So I mean, let's just see where this goes here real quick. Yeah. So it went to last week's low basically. Went all the way down here. You see that?
Yep.
Now, if anything, though, what does that help confirm?
So trending cycle down, right?
Right. Well, not only that, but I mean, it basically helps confirm that this right here is a reset. Do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah, yeah,
So if we're just basically counting off of this being 400 pip move down, this being your peak formation low, this now becomes your reset, and then essentially, ideally, you're looking for sells. Because this is going to end up being like a trending cycle.
yep.
So now, you know how when you know how whenever you have like sometimes it could be confusing where you're thinking if you're looking at, let's say, weekly cycles, and you're like, you had really a one-way move on Tuesday, and you're like, well, this could still be a market maker cycle, right? Like that.
Yep.
But you're like, okay, well, this can't be a market maker cycle if you have a reset here. Do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah, yeah. I get what you're
So
saying.
that putting those two together would help you basically confluence them together and saying, hey, you know what? This is actually going to be a trending cycle because this is a reset.
Yep.
You know.
No, it makes sense.
All right. So let's see what we got here. Now the interesting point is though that because you have a trending cycle down, right? This move here, this is going to be the down move. This right here is a down move to create the lower low, right? But you still need a move to go up here to create the lower high, and then whatever, keep going down.
Yep.
So if you get a setup basically to go up and I don't know, tag like a 200 or something to create this lower high, like don't be afraid to take it, but it's a small trade. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
It's just a trade to basically help set up the lower high, but then you're looking for the sell. So just keep that in mind that if you're in a trending cycle, yeah, you're gonna look for sells, but you might have a small setup that may give you 20, 25, 30 pips or whatever to create the lower high, and then you could take another trade as a sell. You know what I mean?
Yep. Brilliant. Mark, one question: would you trade the London session on a Wednesday, or would you just trade New York only?
I mean, you could trade as long as the setup is there. I don't care what. Yeah, it doesn't matter, man.
Oh, okay.
As long as the
All
setup
depends.
is there, like, you know, I'm more. I don't like to trade a lot of London session anymore because I want to actually have a normal life. Um, so
Makes sense.
so I'm mostly trading the U.S. session, but I have a tendency to look at like 2 o'clock in the morning real quick, see where the charts are, and put in like a sell limit or buy limit order on where I would want to get tagged in on a sell setup or a buy setup. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then just let it go. If I miss it, I miss it. Whatever. See that right there?
Yeah.
That could be a type 3. That could be a type 3 setup right here.
Oh yeah.
Do you see that?
I see the pin
Why would
bars.
you
I can't
come
see.
down? Well, think about it. I mean, why would you come down and just pin? Why not just keep going down?
Yeah.
I mean, I get it. You want to sell, but at the same time, why would you just stop here? You're stopping in the middle of the range, but you're also not just stopping in the middle of the range. You're also stopping at the previous week's low as well. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's no
So
coincidence.
why would you stop there? Like that doesn't make any sense. You just had, one, two, three bars straight down, and then all of a sudden you're just gonna stop with two pen bars? That doesn't make sense. Three now. There's your see that right there? That right there,
Yeah.
that pushback you could use as an entry.
That's like confirmation as well, though, isn't it?
What's that?
That sell candle, with that pin into the mid range. That's like another confirmation that it's not breaking the
Right.
previous
Well,
week low.
you have that the pattern. You have the star pattern here. Of one and then three in a row, and then a big one, and now you got the pullback with the pin bar to it too. So this right here is your confirmation. Yeah. The question is, going to the 200, would that give you basically enough to um, would it give you enough basically is the question, you know so yeah, it would be enough because I mean, yeah, it'd be like a 3 to
Oh
1.
yeah. Oh nice.
So if you take it here and you go below this low, this is like what, 13 pip stop loss, 37 pip to the 200 over a 2 to 1 risk reward ratio.
That's a good trade.
So I mean, that's a good trade. If you get anything lower than that, I mean, that's even better. I mean, now you're talking freaking like something stupid like 9 pip, whatever,
Yeah.
you know. But I mean, just taking it here at the end of that candle, once that candle closes, you're at a 12 pip stop loss. I mean, you're at a 3 to 1 almost. But again, this is just a short trade because the bigger picture is to actually sell.
Yeah.
And I mean, granted, if we're wrong and this is like, let's say something like this, then shit, the next candle is going to take you out anyways.
Yeah.
Yeah, so look at that. You even had another pullback. Do you see that?
Yeah. It looks like it's actually forming a
Another pin bar.
W now. Yeah.
Look at that. Now you could have fucking done this shit. So, yeah. Anywhere in here, man, would be a good trade. And your risk reward, depending on where you have it at, anywhere in here, your risk reward ratio only goes up. So, a
Yeah.
possibility of friggin' close to 7.5 to 1.
That's
Like,
crazy.
that's stupid. Who the fuck gets that? When do you get that?
It's crazy, man.
Like literally, when do you get a 7 to 8 to 1 risk reward ratio? That's stupid.
On a short trade as well, that's really good.
Yeah, well, I'm saying, and the point is again that I can't stress it enough is like because you're only risking 6 pips, if the next candle takes you out, it's only 6 pips.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? Your risk is
yeah.
so small that it just it's like it doesn't matter. Look,
I'm
see,
looking
the
at.
risk is so small.
I can see that W when it was forming.
Yeah, you don't get a lot. I haven't seen a lot of these W's on type threes, but like they're going higher than that shit. Look at that.
It's pinning. It's maybe created a high.
Yeah, so I mean, this could be very well creating this pin bar here is the lower, what is it, lower high. Yeah, that very well could be it right there. Just need like a little bit more evidence there. Boom, boom. See,
Yeah, straight down. That's all she wrote.
straight down.
I think that's one of the best things you ever taught me is the high and the lows. It's just my profit rate it just goes up crazy now. Now I actually understand the high and the low of the day.
Yeah, I mean I don't know how this trade here would have been kind of hard to get into. You would have had to really be paying attention after this candle here, because this is the this right here is the go candle here, because it breaks out of that structure, and then you do get a pullback. So there is an entry here for you.
Yeah,
You just got to be paying attention to it. Because I mean, this is like the 915 candle here, so there is definitely an entry, I think, here on this pullback. Without this pullback, I mean, it's not possible. You know what I mean?
yeah.
Because I mean, this is fuck like a 5 to 1. That's crazy.
Yeah, as long as it's more than a 2 to 1, you can even put your stop loss on the high of the day. So you know what I mean?
Yeah. So I mean, same thing, right? You're how many pips is that, by the way? So you're at 236, and that last cycle was what 380 something.
Yep, nearly
So
400.
I mean, you got fucking plenty of time still, or you got plenty of room, I should say, to come down further. I'm kind of curious though, where is the further at? Maybe down here.
Oh yeah.
Where's this thing at? Maybe down here where that pin bar is. That's gonna be further down than that, actually. I mean, the closest other structure would be like down here, off of this high there. Well, let's see what happens here. I would say that would be a setup to buy, but this right here is there's only one, two, three, four candles in between. This candle's too big, and there's no pullback, so that's not a setup. I would say this would be a nice setup as a sell, but that candle's way too big, anyways.
Yeah.
I'm kind of curious to see if there's a pullback and whether or not this 50 is going to act as resistance, and basically, is it going to, keep, pushing the price basically down and blocking it from ever going up higher. Oh man, you see this? I think that's going to be a good setup here.
What is that you see? I can't see it.
Well, you have a big bullish candle and then 3 dojis, man.
Oh, okay.
I'm anticipating a big ass red candle on on the next candles. I'm anticipating a big red candle,
Oh, okay, yeah.
either another doji or or a big ass red candle like that. And if you get that, then you want to pull back and then an entry. But essentially, this you'd want this to actually happen before the end of the box, though.
Yeah.
But you're right at the middle of the range, literally. I mean, if they wanted to go higher, why would you not go higher? You've already cleared the 50. Do you see
That's
what I'm
true.
saying?
Yeah,
Why not go
exactly.
higher? Like, there ain't fucking nothing there. Why? Why stop in the middle? There ain't nothing special about it.
Yeah,
You know what I'm saying? There's nothing special about
yeah,
it. Why stop in the middle?
yeah.
Why stop in the middle?
That's that's when you're thinking out of the box, don't it? That takes a lot of years to do that.
Why stop in the middle, man? Boom. I can't make this shit up. I can't make this shit up. Oh my god. That's a big ass red candle.
Oh, pullback.
That's a pullback. I don't know if that pullback's big enough though. Like 18, 17. I mean, fuck, it'd have to go down to here
Yeah,
for it really to make sense. Oh, that's the previous structure there that I marked. So if I were to do something like that, it'd be worth it, you know?
yeah.
So something like that would be worth it. Wow, you can get a bigger one. Look at that. Sheesh. Now, interestingly enough, though, depending on how big the spread is here, that could take you out also,
Yeah,
because that's only like it's a 5 pip, so 5 pips away from your stop loss. So that this candle might have taken you out depending on your broker. Damn, right to the line. So what was that? Or how big was that actually? 300? Yeah, so 300. So it still has technically some more moves down. The only closest place that it has is this line down here from the previous, all the way back there from structure and whatnot. So I mean, the best setups are still sell setups. I mean, looking at this. So I mean, if you look at this, what are the only setups that you can get out of this? Think about it. What are the only setups that can get out that you can come out of where price is right now?
Um, well, to me personally, is that I think you can get buyers now because I believe that could be the personal, that could be the new low, previous week low.
I mean, it could be, but you know,
But you're going against the
just
cycle.
going off of let's say the previous 3 cycles that it had, it was about 300 and some odd pips, 300 like 80 pips or something like that. So
Yeah,
still room for about 80 more pips to go down.
yeah,
Um, so what I'm saying is though, like for me on this, if I'm looking at this, the only two possible setups is like if you're looking for a buy, it would be like a type 1, right, or type 2 there. That's off of the bottom of that range there. And then
Yeah.
the only other, for me, a sell option would be a type 3. You know,
Okay. Yeah.
would be the only sell option for me to take essentially. You know, so if I'm like, if this is like whatever 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, and I see this, I'm like, okay, well, technically, if I'm still looking for sells, the best setup that would produce a sell for me that I would want to take would be a a type 3. You know, and then you could possibly let's say put in a sell limit order. The best possible entry for me would be a sell limit order, right at the middle of the range. You know what I mean?
Okay. Yeah.
And then let's say so it'd be like a sell order, sell limit here, and then let's say um, a stop loss like here above the 200. You know,
Yeah.
because the 200 is going to act as a rolling resistance. By the time if price were to come up here, this is actually going to be somewhere down here. But I mean, the only other thing that this could be, if this is a buy, would be like a type 1, type 2. It's pretty close to the bottom, so I'd still consider it a type 2 really, because you really didn't have a big false move straight to the bottom here. So I would think if this candle here would have went straight down and hit that, hit this, that would have been a good second leg there, because he would have had 5 candles between the first and second. You know what I mean?
Yep.
But it didn't do that. It actually just pinned to the middle. Yeah, a lot of consolidation. There you go. There's your break. There it
Like
is.
there, innit? You've been into that pretty well, actually. You literally see the
That would have
time
worked
through.
out right? That would have worked out pretty good
Yeah.
if you
Perfect,
you had
actually, innit?
the sell stop or the sell limit order there. And I mean, you would have been sleeping through all this stuff. You know what I mean?
No.
You would have been sleeping through all this stuff, so you wouldn't even been
Yeah.
paying attention to it.
Yeah.
And then you
Would
wake up, and then you're like down here.
would you consider so this is what got me stuck on the back testing on a trade like this one. Would you consider a New York continuation when it goes to the end and then pulls
Yeah.
back in that big long giant candle? I don't know how big that is, but
For me, the continuations that I like to take are the ones that bounce off the 50.
not close.
Well, I mean, this is close, right? I mean, this is what is this?
Pullback's got to be huge. It looks like.
Yeah, I mean, this is like freaking 30 pips, right? So you're right. You're way off. Um, you're too far, right, from what is perceived as the low of the day right now. You know what I mean? So I mean, yeah, continuation trade would be the better setup, because I mean, you're not freaking, unless this is going down another 30 pips and then coming back up again. That wouldn't make a lot of sense. I think if that was the case, you would have had way more movement sideways here, and then you would have had the run to the 50 and then just consolidate for the week. You know what I mean? But
Yeah,
the fact that you did this super early here, I wonder if that is that's a 8:30 candle too. So that's probably maybe news induced as well. You know, that's probably that as well.
yeah, I prefer them with pinning to the 50, like touching it.
Right. No, I agree. I agree 100%. Absolutely. I prefer for them to pin the 50. Yes.
So when I've taken these in the back testing, it's usually 50-50 when I see. I mean, it matches a lot of the criteria. It just doesn't have the pinning to the 50 on the TDI and on the EMA 50 EMA, and I love
Yeah.
those trades the best.
Right. Because I mean, if you were to take a trade here, I mean, you're really, I don't know, you'd have to have. I mean, where are you going to put this thing? You know, you're looking at something like that possibly. Is you got to put it above the 50 so you can act it as rolling resistance, to help you block it. Um, but I mean, you're risking 22 pips and hoping to get 49 on a Friday in the U.S. session. You know what I mean?
It is asking a lot.
Yeah, you're right. You're asking a lot. If this was like a Thursday or Wednesday or Tuesday or whatever, then that's a different story. But it's a Friday. You don't have really the TDI in your favor either, as well. So I think for me, I would be risking way more than I would like. If this was a bigger candle and this doji was like up here, where you would have a trade set up like this, that would make a hell of a lot more sense.
I agree, 100%.
But because of where it's at, I just, especially if I had this trade, I wouldn't even be looking at the U.S. session.
Yeah, I just have a 3-day weekend at that point.
Yeah, I mean, if you think about it, I mean, what did you ended up getting? 1, 2, 3, and then let's just say if you ended up getting this, that'd be 4. Shit, if you got this one on the U.S. session, that's 5. I mean, how many more freaking trades do you want? This is only a one pair, let alone the other pairs that you're looking at. It still went down there. Look at that. So now I'm kind of curious, because if this right here was, if this right here was a reset, look at that. What is that?
Oh,
300 and
sorry.
what?
Yeah, was it 91, isn't it?
391 on the dot.
That's on the ADR.
See that? This one was 378. This one was 390. This one was 397. This one was 400 on the dot. So this right here could start to form a peak formation low. Does all that make sense now?
Yeah, 100%.
I'm actually kind of curious to see how this plays out, actually. So let's play this real quick. What do you know? What do you know? Look at that.
You get more like a level on that previous week.
So this definitely was peak formation low. This was definitely a reset here. Does all that make sense?
Yeah, 100%.
All right, welcome back, guys. I hope that you got a lot of value from this particular video. I know the video was long, but it is what it is. And I hope you got all these little nuggets that happened throughout the session. I've gotten a lot of questions regarding the Blueprint Summit and whether or not the recordings would be available for anybody to purchase if they wanted to. The answer is yes. It's on our website. You can go right now, purchase the recording of the Blueprint if you missed it. It's 14 hours plus of content, 9 sessions long. The link is in the description if you want that. So go ahead and grab it. Thank you guys so much. I hope you enjoyed the video, and have a great rest of your trading week.